There is a highly specific, visceral discomfort that hits you when you look at a hyper-realistic imitation of a human being. Your brain expects to see a mechanical machine, but the face staring back at you looks uncomfortably alive. This chart illustrates the standard theory for that feeling. It plots human likeness against how comfortable we feel. As things look more human, our empathy grows, until a certain threshold. Then it drops into revulsion. We call that dip the uncanny valley. But what if our disgust isn't about how close the machine gets to being human? What if human-like machines creep us out because they hold up a mirror, forcing us to ask if we are actually just biological automata? That is an incredibly alluring idea. It flatters us. It takes a simple shiver down your spine and elevates it. It suggests that your biological reflex is actually a profound defense mechanism, proof that deep down, you hold on to the romantic belief in a non-mechanical, unique human soul. But we have to step back and ask, does getting spooked by a robot actually prove anything about the fundamental nature of reality? Probably not. What we are actually looking at is a textbook case of metaphysical inflation. This is the dangerous habit of taking a simple psychological glitch and blowing it up with the heavy, authoritative language of objective reality. If we don't learn how to spot this rhetorical trick, we risk building our entire understanding of the universe and nothing more than fleeting emotional vibes. Let's start with the generalized we these theories rely on. The argument assumes that phenomena like doppelgangers and twins are inherently terrifying to everyone. But if you look at a vintage photo of identical twins and just see two siblings dressed alike, instead of some gothic horror, the entire philosophical premise collapses for you. To cover up that gap, these arguments rely on cherry-picking extreme outliers. Pointing out that Edgar Allan Poe wrote a terrifying story about a doppelganger proves that Poe knew how to write a good horror story. It does not prove that all of humanity is secretly terrified by personal identity duplication. The exact same sleight of hand happens with medical anomalies. Pointing to a rare neurological condition documented by Oliver Sacks, where a patient feels their own leg as an alien object, does not mean the rest of us are secretly walking around terrified of our own physicality. You cannot deduce the objective nature of human beings from 19th century fiction or rare clinical outliers. When you use narrative suggestions as your only data points, your grand philosophical proposition is entirely unearned. This brings us to the fatal logical flaw at the core of the whole argument. It is called a category error. To understand it, look at the left side of this diagram. This represents phenomenology. It is the subjective realm, the study of how things feel or appear to us personally. Now look at the right side. This represents ontology. This is the realm of objective reality, what things actually are, completely independent of how we feel about them. The flawed theory tries to force a bridge across this gap. It takes a subjective feeling on the left and illegitimately uses it to dictate the hard physical reality on the right. In reality, feeling unsettled by a lifelike robot or a sleepwalker is simply a perceptual mismatch in your visual cortex. Your brain is confused because something looks alive but acts dead. That perceptual confusion is biological. It is not a collision with the limits of reality. Psychological glitches do not equal ontological truths, and feelings are not arguments. So if this massive metaphysical leap is completely illogical, why do we see it so often in elite academic and literary essays? Because it functions precisely like a fortune teller's crystal ball. It is the Barnum effect, tailored specifically for an intellectual crowd. These essays flatter the reader by applying a sophisticated vocabulary to a very ordinary experience. They convince you that your totally mundane dislike of artificiality is actually proof of your profound philosophical depth. And the trap is perfectly sealed because it is completely unfalsifiable. If you read the essay and say, well, I don't find that creepy at all, the framework is designed to tell you that you are simply out of touch with your own unconscious mind. To navigate these arguments, you have to actively separate your brain's perceptual glitches from grand theories of existence. Because at the end of the day, we really don't need to suffer a metaphysical crisis every time we look at a wax mannequin.